Morning and welcome to our morning Devo for Tuesday morning, the 16th of August. We are in the fourth part of the steps that are being suggested by our author to draw closer to Jesus. This one is spontaneous prayer, and it's been the longest one, so much so that instead of just breaking it into two parts, felt it was best to break it into three and not overwhelm. The last section we did was very much the same as the first, but then began to bring in some prayers that probably weren't real good ones. They were selfish prayers, and the question we were left with yesterday, where we broke off this devotion, was what is my motive in asking for this when I'm praying? When I am seeking the Lord for an answer, what's my motivation? What's behind that request that I'm asking? Is it selfish? Is it God honoring? Is it a request that's willing to submit to the will of God? Just as we've been taught to pray, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So, continues on today. To approach Jesus selfishly is one thing. To approach him disrespectfully is another. There were many who disrespected Jesus, including the Pharisees, who were cynical and skeptical and disrespectful to Jesus. We all know people today who approach Jesus in the same way or refuse to even approach him. In preparing to write this book, I tried to take a fresh look at the Gospels and all the people in them. I was hoping to rediscover Jesus by rediscovering the people he interacted with. The thing that fascinated me about the Pharisees as I rediscovered them was that they were always accusing Jesus of blasphemy. This was their big hang-up when it came to Jesus. To blaspheme is to speak of God in an irreverent, impious manner. The paradox that the Pharisees were in fact the ones blaspheming in the way they spoke to Jesus and about him. There were others who even mocked Jesus. The soldiers mocked him, "Hail, King of the Jews," and they spit on him, Matthew 27:29. Can you imagine mocking God? We see it more and more in movies and television shows, just as we increasingly hear people taking the Lord's name in vain. It has become alarmingly common in our culture today, both in entertainment and in everyday life. It seems like four guys cannot play a round of golf without someone taking the Lord's name in vain. Let me ask you this. Which of the 10 Commandments is easiest to live? The second commandment is exclusively dedicated to the name of God. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. A whole commandment is set aside just for God's name. That tells us speech is powerful, obviously much more so than we realize. I think this commandment is probably the easiest to keep. And if we so blatantly struggle as a culture to live the easiest of the commandments, what does that tell us about our spiritual state? Throughout the Gospels, people call out to Jesus in a variety of ways, and each is a prayer of one sort or another. There are hundreds of these first Christian prayers. As you read the Gospels, take note of them. Pause to consider each. Ask yourself, have I ever spoken to Jesus like this? Have I ever prayed like this? These first Christian prayers are another wonderful theme to explore as we read the Gospels. Learn to call out to God in the moments of your day, casually, in a very human way. like a small child speaks to his or her father. Our best days are those when we stay connected with God throughout the day. Throughout the day. I had some concerns in my head there toward the end where he called not taking the Lord's name in vain the easiest commandment to keep. That's not just about a verbal taking the Lord's name in vain, using it like a curse word or linking it with other words that we put with it. This is, for me, not taking the Lord's name in vain would also include claiming to be a Christian and yet your life contradicts that. You're living under that banner of God's name and yet your life isn't being lived like that. That's taking his name in vain as far as I understand it. But I don't know that any of the 10 commandments are easy because every one of them address a human failing of one kind or another. The point to ponder: God is always at my side to help me make the best decisions. The verse to live is 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray constantly, give thanks in all circumstances. The question to consider: what are you most grateful for today? And the prayer: Jesus, thank you for being at my side even when I forget you are there. I'm so happy he's faithful because I'm not always faithful. I suspect maybe neither are you because we're human and we're weak and we falter and fail. But thank God that he is there and he will hear us when we call to him. Blessings to you today.